with the Texas. I'm excited that you joined the first ever Texas Interns Unite InternAbility virtual conference. We have an amazing program filled with valuable resources and tools that you can use today. Now we're going to move forward with our program, and let me welcome our very own Commissioner Aaron Dimerson.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. I guess if we were in person, that would be a clap introducing Commissioner Aaron Dimerson. And so we're delighted to be here this afternoon. This is quite an amazing event that that's taking place. And I'm proud of the employers that are here with us today. Excited that they're going to be on the panel, and just even more excited about this opportunity for our students and individuals with disabilities. The opportunity to have them in jobs for internship possibilities means a lot for us here at the state level. So let me do a few things. Let me first of all thank Cheryl Fuller and the TWC team, the voc rehab team, for all the work that they're doing in this space. It makes a difference for us, and the work that they're doing day in and day out is what bodes well for us here in the great state of Texas. Our Texas Interns Unite initiative, this is the first of many. This is our first one, InternAbility conference that we're holding, and we're looking forward to your feedback and information that you'll get back to us in regards to what we can do right, what we were doing wrong from that standpoint, but really just communicating and making sure that our employers know that there are students out there that want these opportunities, and making sure that our students know there are employers out there that want to work with you as well. And so delighted to be here this morning. We have a heck of a lineup, a nice program where you're going to hear from speakers on the employer side. You're going to hear from individuals at the community college level, the university level, that are helping students with disabilities as well. And even more importantly, just making sure that you're taking advantage of the opportunity and the programs that are out there. Our chairman here at the Texas Workforce Commission is Brian Daniel, wanted to be here. We're all appointed by Governor Abbott. And so on behalf of Governor Abbott, let me welcome each and every one of you guys to this particular session. It's packed with a lot of individuals with a lot of knowledge. And at the end of the day, I want you to take advantage of all of the resources that are out there in that regard. And so I'm going to step away from the podium so that we can get on with the program. But I wanted to have take this opportunity, and I'm delighted to introduce a new commissioner. He's been with us for about 3 to 4 weeks. I'm probably getting that time wrong, but been with us for a short while. And I think about another week, we're not going to be calling him the new commissioner anymore. He's going to be here on board and taking care of business. But we're delighted to have Commissioner Albert Trevino with us today. And he's going to bring you some remarks, and then we'll move to our RCT chairman, Chairman Gennady, at that point. So with that, Commissioner Trevino.
Thank you, Commissioner Dimerson. As he said, my name is Alberto Trevino. I am the new appointed commissioner for labor. And I'd just like to thank everybody for participating in this event, all the students that did, all the employers, the governor's office, and everyone that worked so hard at TWC. I'd also like to give a special kudos to Commissioner Dimerson for championing this great initiative and helping, as he always does. I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm willing, and my staff are willing to help in any way we can to make sure that it continues to be a big success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Trevino. We appreciate all that you're going to do. I know you have a new chief of staff on board, Julia McCarter, but she's not new to the agency from that standpoint. And so you're going to hit the ground running in a big, big way. And we're excited. We have an opportunity here at the Workforce Commission to do some phenomenal things. It takes teamwork in order to do that. And when you have the collaborative efforts and you have the support of commissioners like Commissioner Trevino, our chairman, Brian Daniel, then that allows us to do the work that we were able to do on a day in and day out basis. And once again, just so excited that our employers are here, and you're going to hear from them because truly they're making a difference and making an investment in our state from that standpoint. And so I'm going to now turn it over to our chairman, Gennady. The chairman chairs the RCT committee, RC Rehabilitation Council of Texas. We call it RCT. And he's an exciting chairman. He's someone who doesn't just talk, he gets out there with a lot of action. And so let's turn it over to Chairman Gennady and hear remarks from him.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. My name is Gennady Goldenstein. As Commissioner Demerson said, I chair the RCT, Rehabilitation Council of Texas. And we work with TWC, the Texas Workforce Commission, and VR Division, Vocational Rehab Division, to make sure that all Texans, including Texans with disabilities, have an opportunity to pursue a meaningful, fulfilling career, not just a job, but a career. And when Commissioner Demerson mentioned this initiative and this event to me, I was extremely excited, absolutely excited. And I love the title of this specific session, InternAbility. InternAbility. And I interpret it probably a little bit different as it was intended. I'm not looking at the intern part as an intern. Rather, I'm looking at it as internal. So InternAbility, internal ability. And what's really exciting to me about it is if we work together through this session, through this collaboration between the state, between the employers, between the various public entities and private entities, we can truly focus on unlocking this internal ability. And we will not let somebody's disability define that person, but rather the internal ability of the person is what we will use to define the person. So very excited about this event. As Commissioner mentioned, it's one of many. And fantastic lineup of speakers ahead of us. Let's get on with it.
Chairman, thank you so much for those comments. Thank you for all that you do. And as I said, he's a man of action. And so I'm looking forward to working with him as we take this to the next level. Again, this is our first, it won't be our last, and we're looking forward to what's to come. And so I'm going to move out of the way at this point and bring back our moderator of the session of this afternoon, Cassandra Medrano, to take care of business. But as I leave the podium, again, I want to emphasize the importance of students that are out there taking advantage of these opportunities. Take advantage of these employers that are here that have your vested interests in mind. And so make sure that you're doing what you need to do to make sure that we turn what we're talking about into action. We're looking forward to making that all of that happen. And so with that, I'll bring back up Cassandra Medrano.
Thank you, Commissioner Demerson, for those remarks. Thank you, Commissioner Trevino, and thank you, Commissioner RCT Chairman Gennady. We're truly blessed to have collaboration across the board from all these important individuals. On with the program. Next, I want to ask Madi Hunziker, who is our accessibility specialist with the Texas Workforce Commission in the IT department, to introduce our next speaker. Mari? So while Mari is logging on.
Yes. Can everybody see me okay? See, I don't know.
Take it away, Mari.
Okay, great. Hi there. Yes, thank you, Cassandra. My name is Mari Hunziker. I am happy to introduce Ron Lucy. He is the director of the Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities, which is an agency that provides and advises the Texas legislature and the governor's office on issues that with people with disabilities. He has also annually the Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities annually partners with TWC in our Texas Hireability campaign. Mr. Lucy has over 30 years of professional experience working with people with disabilities in a variety of ways. And I am happy to have worked with him in our White Cane Day, and there was another event. I just lost my head, but anyway, take it away, Ron Lucy. Thank you so much.
All right, Mari, thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's always great to see a friendly face introducing you before this great audience. Work-based learning and internships have been a passion of mine my entire career, starting back over 30 years ago when I was a job coach, coaching blind students in a summer work experience here in Austin, Texas. Later in my public policy work as a commissioner here in Austin, Travis County, I supported the expansion of our Austin Travis County work-based learning program to serve hundreds more students with disabilities. So this is an area that I can really get excited about. And today we're bringing to you a great panel of outstanding employers and a member of the Higher Education Coordination Board to talk about internship opportunities for students with disabilities. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. I'm going to ask each of the panel members to introduce themselves and tell us about their role within their company. And we'll start with you, Leslie.
Great, thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Cantu. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Administration at Toyotetsu, Texas. Toyotetsu is a Tier 1 automotive supplier that produces parts that are stamped and welded that create the undercarriage, cab structure, and safety components of the Tundra, Tacoma, and Sequoia.
Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Malo. I'm the Assistant Director of Work-Based Learning Programs at the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. We support and coordinate and serve our community in our great state of Texas. So looking forward to share more about what we do today.
Hello, my name is Jeronimo Rodriguez. I serve as the Chief Advocacy Officer for Ascension, Texas, which is one of the largest healthcare providers here in Central Texas. That includes Dell Children's Medical Center and Dell Seed Medical Center at the University of Texas. I serve as the Chief Advocacy Officer, and one of the responsibilities is to work on workforce development issues and connecting our local community to high demand healthcare careers. And our mission calls us to be advocates for a compassionate, just society with our words and our actions, and happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Biddick with Dell Technologies. I'm pretty confident that most people in the audience know about Dell, but in my role specifically at Dell, I lead our hiring efforts for individuals with disabilities across North America. And more specifically, I focus on our neurodiversity hiring program, which is what I'm here to talk to you all about today. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Danielle. To go easy on the camera operator, we're going to leave it down at that end. I'd like you to start us off, Danielle, by telling us about how Dell Technologies developed their internship program and what your organization does to make sure it's inclusive for job seekers and students with disabilities.
Sure, definitely. So at Dell, we offer internships and full-time opportunities for neurodivergent job seekers through our neurodiversity hiring program. The program was designed with the intent to provide career readiness training, an altered interview experience, and on-the-job support resources for neurodivergent job seekers. If you'd like, I can tell you more details about the specific internship, but I want to be mindful of time.
Give us a little flavor of the types of jobs that are available, or types of internships that are available at Dell.
Definitely. So we really work across the business. I specifically work with every different business unit at Dell to set aside headcount specifically for these internships that are dedicated to our neurodiversity program. So we're hiring folks into roles as data analysts, software engineers, cybersecurity professionals, and we also have some roles in marketing and HR where people are doing more content production or public relation type of work.
And these are indeed paid internships.
They
right?
are indeed paid internships. Usually they take place over the summer for about 10 to 12 weeks in duration. They're paid, we offer benefits, and a lot of other great perks for working at Dell.
Thank you, Danielle. Geronimo, you have a very mature program that has even a national brand, Project Search. Can you tell us about your internship program at Ascension?
Sure. Project Search at Ascension, Texas is a business-led best practice to train and prepare young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities to meet the demands of today's competitive workforce. Since 2007, over 300 young adults have completed a year-long 3-rotation internships, and collaboratively with five partners at each of our sites, we've achieved an employment outcome of 91% for those students. It's a best practice originally developed at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and we've been implementing it now with several partners and school districts across the state of Texas.
Is that program secondary education only, or do you also have internships for college students?
It's focused on high school students, as the collaboration effort requires a school district to provide some resources, the community service providers, mental health service providers, and then us as an employer And we all work together to focus on their abilities, not their disabilities throughout the rotations.
Thank you. Vanessa, I'm going to skip over you and circle back later for the big picture on other internship opportunities in Texas. But Leslie, let's come to you. Your program is a little bit more new in the San Antonio area. Can you tell us how you got started and how you connect with students with disabilities?
Absolutely. So we were able to start our internship based on a great partnership with some of our local and state agencies. For this particular internship, we have worked with TWC Vocational Rehabilitation Services, Workforce Solutions Alamo, as well as Alamo Area Council of Governments. And so we wanted to come together to provide manufacturing career experience for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so we created our internship to be a cohort style where we bring individuals together as a group. They go through vocational adjustment training classes prior to starting the work experience. While they're in that work experience, they're continuing some of those classes to help them acclimate to the workspace. And they are ramping up those hours to improve their comfort level and to be able to be better prepared to handle the work on the floor that we do. And so it's a 12-week internship. And we just successfully completed our very first cohort in January and look forward to starting future cohorts coming up soon.
What age students are those that work in your internship program?
18 and over.
Okay. On a manufacturing floor, I would assume you would have to be an adult and
Yes.
Vanessa, I want to circle back to you for kind of a baseline understanding for the audience. What is the definition of work-based learning and why is that important for people to get that experience?
Yes. So for some time now, we have been discussing what is work-based learning. Work-based learning is essentially an opportunity where you're connecting what you're learning within your coursework or your classroom work to a real life experience. And it comes in a variety of forms. It can be through a mock interview. It could be through job shadowing, an internship, or an apprenticeship. Ultimately, the idea is that whatever you are reading about and hearing about, that you're actually living that experience, getting a sense for how it actually works, and getting a sense for whether it's really the direction that you want to head, right? So that would be a good, simple description of what that is.
A try it before you buy it, growth experience.
Exactly.
All right, in a lot of these panels, people may not always remember definitions or facts, but they always remember impactful stories. Daniel, I'm going to go back down to you at the end, and I'd like you to share a success story with us from Dell Technologies, where your company successfully integrated a intern with a disability, perhaps somebody that had some assistive technology needs or other challenges, and how you overcame those challenges and how that proved to be both a successful experience for that student or intern and for your company.
Sure. You know, I love sharing success stories, but there's so many to choose from at this point. At Dell, we've hired, we've hired about 80 people through our neurodiversity program, and we offer a skill-based hiring model, which is essentially a form of interviewing that focuses on an individual's core competencies for the role. So a lot of the time, we take a person-centered approach to getting to know what would make our candidates more successful through that interview experience. And then from there, we provide training to managers to ensure that they are prepared to support those successful transitions. And we have a 93% conversion rate from interns that move into full-time roles. One of my favorite success stories, though, is one of our interns who eventually, she was actually a Texas workforce not candidate, but you know what I mean. She was referred to us by Texas Workforce, and she went from an internship into a full-time role. And then about a year later, her manager went back to participate in the program again for a second year in a row. And he was unable to make it to those interviews. And so he actually asked her to step in as the hiring manager and make the decision on who to choose for their team. So that just really goes to show what competitive talent we're bringing in, and that we're, you know, utilizing their skills and expertise to understand what new talent to bring into the organization.
Geronimo, it sounds like Dell's success rate tracks very closely with yours in 90% range for individuals who go from an internship and convert over to a full-time employee. I know you also have a lot of great success stories. Could you pick out one that you'd like to share with
Yeah.
our audience today?
You know, before I share that, I thank you for sharing about how the Texas Workforce Commission helped you out, because I think over the last 16 years of Project Search, we've met so many young adults with unique skills. And the interesting thing is that for us, we couldn't have done it without the Texas Workforce Commission, Cheryl Fuller, and all the folks here, Melinda and others, and you, Ron, and the support that you all created to help us build that best practice over time. Our approach to supporting interns is really to be thoughtful about focusing on their skills, their strengths, their interests as individuals with the goal of competitive employment. Now, it's all rooted in universal design, or essentially what works well for one person typically benefits the team. And two really quick examples are, one, we implemented a 30-minute lunch break and required that of all employees. Well, we had an employee with Project Search intern who ate in 10 minutes and wanted to go back to work. And so we had to find some assistive technology, which basically was a stopwatch, and using that to click when she was going to go off for a lunch break and then come back 30 minutes later. Well, it worked so well that we also implemented it for some of our other employees who might have forgotten to come back in 30 minutes or are coming back early. And I think the second one is really not necessarily a success story. At the end, it's a success story, but we ultimately, at the very beginning, turn the mirrors on ourselves about what we could do differently. And one of the things that we were seeing is a barrier of employment for ourselves. We knew that entry-level jobs required a high school degree or GED. Well, we turned the mirrors on ourselves and said, well, that's not good enough. Because of the work that we were doing with these students, we ended up adding language that said or certificate under the IDEA Act, which was so important for us to have taken someone and trained them for 3 rotations, 1 year, and then to have them not be able to have employment. So we worked with our general counsel and ended up resolving that issue. And I think for me, that opened up the doors to a 91% employment outcome for those 300 interns.
Is there one intern that you think of over the years that you saw that person just blossom under your program? And
yes, Walter Hendrick, which I was going to talk about in our next question, but he has flourished tremendously and allowed and just challenged individuals about how the work that they do. And it really is about, he was actually able to remember 9-digit patient ID numbers and figured out that we had slides, histology slides, that would show someone's diagnosis or not their diagnosis. And he figured out what we call a good catch, an error before it actually goes to the patient. And so Walter is someone who I remember a lot and is a great friend. He also, by the way, accepted the mission award for the National Ascension Healthcare Ministry and recognizing Project Search as part of our own mission to ensure that we're advocating for a compassionate and just society.
Geronimo, I'm having trouble remembering the next question, so remembering a 9-digit code is pretty amazing. Thank you for that story.
Yeah.
Leslie, you have a story you'd like to share, a success story. Your internship is off to a recent start, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some favorites.
Absolutely. As an employer with a newer program, really we feel the entire cohort and the program has been a success for us. The way that we've been able to support our interns through the coordination and partnership with the job coaches. For us in manufacturing, the work that we do is very structured, very repetitive. We have the same type of training all the time. But what we learned through the internship with our interns with intellectual and developmental disabilities is sometimes they needed a little bit longer or other ways of going through the material to help them learn and become comfortable. And so what our job coaches were doing, instead of maybe just having them follow steps on a piece of paper, we started videotaping somebody going through those steps. And so allowing that individual to take some time throughout the day to repeatedly watch those videos. And in time, Even though they were there, early on in that internship, they were able to outperform some of our full-time employees. And so for us, it really opened our eyes to make sure that even though standardization is very important, when it comes to our internship and working with new hires, we really need to take everything on a customized case-by-case basis to make sure we're doing everything we can to make those individuals successful. And so I can share some stories about individual successes, but I also want to share about the amazing success that we had as an employer. This group of interns that we brought, we had some unexpected results, and really was just the increased morale from our team members on the floor that were working side by side with the interns. So many people came up to us and were very appreciative of us starting this internship. They told their own personal stories about themselves or about family members. The morale of our management team increased. The interns that we had were so motivated and so dedicated and so hardworking. Sometimes it's easy to take for granted the job that you have, and you get up in the morning and you're kind of, begrudgingly going to work. But when you get into the office and you see our interns are there early and they're excited to be there, it really changes the whole kind of feeling of the office. And so in addition to increasing our talent pipeline, it really just started to help change the culture and change the mood. And so that was a huge win for our company. And then to be able to work with the interns and really see confidence increase and to be really proud of the work that they were doing was just a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Leslie. So Dell Technology, Ascension of Texas, and Toyota Tetsu are all outstanding role models for companies that have opened their doors to internships for students with disabilities. But the three of your companies cannot take on all of the students that would be interested in this. And so, Vanessa, I want to turn to you to talk about the TXability program and the many other employers that have opened their doors, and how the students watching this program today can take advantage of those opportunities.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we have a great statewide Texas internship program, and it's there to serve not only our students across the state of Texas, but also our Texas employers. It's a paid internship period opportunity where you're getting paid $20 an hour. So the state is contributing $10 of the hourly wage, and companies are matching that $10. Students have the opportunity to participate in consecutive internship opportunities with their employers, so they have a chance to really get to know the job, gain and strengthen their skill sets as they're progressing, and then determine whether that's the path they want to go. And in some cases, they get offered a permanent opportunity. The program also offers students a chance to try different industries. So if you try one particular industry and you say, I've gained a lot of skill sets here, I've grown, but I want to try something new, then the Texas Works program will continue to support you. One of the great connections with the Texas Works program is the Texas Internship Challenge site, where students have the ability to go and search for Texas Works positions, but along with many other internship opportunities. There's many companies that are posting positions there. There's lots of resources. There's even a tool on the Internship Challenge site that helps you format your resume so it's presentable whenever you're applying for your position. So a lot of great resources there. In addition, students are always invited to the Texas Interns Unites conference series. Today is the first of a series of different events that we'll be hosting throughout the year. Texas Workforce Commission has been kind enough to support that initiative. So a lot of great work happening. And so if you would like to learn a little bit more about Texas Works, employers and students, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and we're looking forward to being able to support you further.
You hear that, students? $20 an hour in an
$20.
industry that you already want to work in. That sounds great. Is this opportunity available statewide in most of the communities across Texas?
Yes, statewide, all communities. We're looking for all students. You do have to be an undergraduate student, graduated from high school, something important to keep in mind. You do have to be enrolled the semester prior to your internship, 6 hours or more, or in an internship course. But pretty flexible and a lot of opportunities.
I was going to ask if college credit is available for some of these internships.
Yeah, so for internships, it depends. We leave it up to you and your professor and the course that you're taking. If you would like to receive credit and that's something you work out with your professor, we can help support you with that, and we can document that you're a part of the program officially.
Okay, and the website where students can learn more information about TX Works.
Yes, sir. I will send it to you because I do not have it
Okay.
perfectly memorized.
We'll see if we can put it up on the in the chat or the
That'd
Q&A
be
section of
fantastic.
Teams. All right. As I was mentioning, each of you are mentors for the other employers that are out there. I'd like you to take this opportunity to briefly share your best advice for other employers in Texas that are thinking of starting an internship program at their company. Leslie, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Thank you. As an employer that is working diligently to try to fill our headcount needs and find the right talent, as I'm sure many of you out there are, it's important that we start to think outside of the box and look for other referral streams in order to meet those needs. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of the resources that are out there. I would encourage you to specifically target individuals that have disabilities or other target populations. There's an amazing talent pool out there that is not fully tapped into. And so I truly feel that you'll be able to meet your needs, to be successful in your workplace. You'll be really impressed with the candidates that you're getting. You'll be pleased with the overall impact to your company. And so instead of just kind of going through the motions and following your normal recruitment strategy, really make a strategic effort to tap into partnerships at the state level or at your local level, and work with individuals with disabilities. You'll be very pleased with the results.
Okay, Geronimo.
You know, in 2007, we were the first project search site in the state of Texas. We had to confront our own implicit bias. And there's now close to 30 sites that have been replicated. We believe that project search is a best practice of workforce development, which can't be accomplished without three principles. The first one is relationships, teamwork, and collaboration. You can't do this alone. We partner with over a dozen entities, including school districts from Hayes, Leander, Georgetown, Hutto, Del Valle, the Texas Workforce Commission, through Texas Workforce Solutions, Goodwill, long-term service providers, Integral Care, and Bluebonnet Trails. The second one is centering our efforts around the current business and growth needs for our organization. In other words, filling those high demand jobs, filling the business need, it has to be focused on that as well. And then the third one is really a radical focus on each individual with the goal of competitive employment. What is their ability, not their disability, that will ensure that they're meeting the business need that is focused on relationships, teamwork, and collaboration? Very important.
Thank you. Danielle.
Definitely. So for any business that's looking to start a program, specifically a neurodiversity hiring program, my number one piece of advice is to just get started. And there's no one size fits all approach. We're at this point in time in the neurodiversity movement where there are so many other companies, big and small, that are doing this type of work. And my number one piece of advice is to ask how they're doing it and learn about what might work well for you. Some best practices are to offer an alternative interview experience, ensure that you're working with other resources like Texas Workforce Commission or other state vocal rehab agencies to get the type of support that your team members may need when it comes to assistive technology or accommodations. Ensure that you're asking those questions and learn from the employees within your company who already are there that identify as disabled or neurodivergent, and ask them what makes them successful at work, and then go from there. But I'm always here and happy to speak with any employer who's looking to get started, and I will make the connection to other employers that are doing the same work. I'm part of a neurodiversity at work employer roundtable that's hosted by Disability In, and there are 50 of us that are a part of this coalition of companies. And one of our number one strategies is to share the information and best practices that we've all learned from each other. So
I was going to ask you to name drop Disability In, by the way, our former Governor's Committee Chair, Dr. Erin Bangor from AT&T, has helped foster that great relationship here in Central Texas. But at a national level, Dell Technology, you're part of a consortium of technology companies that are developing neurodiversity internship programs. Can you speak to that Autism at Work program and do some of, and they're not really competitors, they're partners, right?
Exactly. Yes. So we're part of this, like I said, this roundtable, this coalition where we meet regularly to share the work that we're doing and to learn from each other. And more recently, we've created a career connector, which is essentially a job site for neurodivergent talent to identify the different companies that have these types of initiatives. And so they know that they're getting a neurodivergent friendly employer when they're going to this site and seeing the types of opportunities that we have to offer. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you're a student looking for an internship on the call.
And those are some great national brands, Microsoft, SAP.
Oh, yeah. Microsoft, SAP, EY, the list goes on. There's, like I said, about 50 of us.
Vanessa, I want to circle back to you. Speak to these students in the audience who are closing in on their college graduation and explain to them how participating in an internship like this would benefit them in their job search when they get out of college. What will this do for them to help them outcompete other job seekers?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I cannot emphasize, I think all of us can agree, the importance of getting out there and not being afraid to learn and getting into an internship, even an apprenticeship, any type of work-based learning example that we provided you, but an internship in particular will just expand the horizons for you. It's like traveling internationally. You go and learn about a different culture, a language, you get immersed into something different. It's the same concept. When you go into a certain industry, you get to actually see it for yourself, see how it works. You learn things like project management, effective communication, team building, critical thinking, which we do daily and don't even realize we're doing it. But some really key skill sets that you're going to need when you enter into your workforce. And so the competitive edge is that you're prepared. You may not know everything when you get there, but you've at least got this strong foundation of skill sets where you can say, I have at least practiced this and I'm here to grow and continue to grow with the support of those that you're working with. And you're bringing that to the table. So it makes you stronger. It also allows you to get to know yourself a little bit better and see what you like and what you don't like and how you work best within that particular industry or in different industries. So that when you know yourself and you get in there and you're in a situation where it might be some conflict is going to happen and you maybe don't get along with everybody, that's okay, that's going to happen too. But because you know yourself a little bit better, you're able to respond more appropriately, right? And to be able to handle the stress of really being in a new industry. So continue to live and learn. And if you have an opportunity to earn while you're doing that, even better. But it is all about growth. And, be advocates for yourself and also recognize that we want you to know that you're really important to us. We're here to serve you. We want you to be strong. We want you to be successful. And so part of that is getting out there and getting into those types of networks and industries where you get that support. So thank you.
My notes indicate that the Texas Higher Education Coordination Board has other work-based learning opportunities beyond this Texas Works program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Happy to. We have also it's called a work study student mentorship program. There's probably about 50 institutions across the state of Texas, colleges and universities, community colleges, four-year institutions, and private institutions where you can work as a mentor, a tutor, or an advisor, and you will be paid a minimum hourly rate of $10 an hour. And many of the institutions are actually paying more than that. But it's a great opportunity for you to be able to give back to your peers. You can also work within nonprofit organizations. You can work within a high school setting, like in a career center where you're helping students in high school apply for college or helping them complete their financial aid application. You can help them do career exploration. So you really are at a key center point where you're helping people enter into college, get college ready, and help them stay in college and help them get to the finish line, which is college completion and success for the workforce. And the bonus is that you're also learning to grow as a person and as a leader. You're doing things that you don't realize that you're doing, which is project management, networking. When you set up a table and you're marketing for an event, you're having to develop that event and the marketing material for that. So you're gaining skill sets, you're serving others. The program has been employing anywhere from 700 to 1,000 students on a yearly basis. It's been around for probably over 10 years, and you are serving over 100,000 students within the state of Texas. So check out your financial aid office, ask them about whether or not you are work study eligible, and then ask them about the work study student mentorship program and see if they can connect you to the right division. And if not, you can always reach out to me as well. So we'll make sure you have my information.
Thank you, Vanessa. I think what makes the Texas model so successful is, first of all, the collaboration that we hear from each of you, the partnerships with the Texas Workforce Commission with vocational rehabilitation, and also the peer mentoring with other companies in your industry. And I also like that we provide opportunities at every age with the Summer Earn and Learn program through WCVR and also up through college. We're closing in on our final minutes, and so I'd like to go back to each one of you and give you an opportunity for any closing remarks or to share contact information, how our audience can get in touch with you to learn more about your internship program or other programs at the Higher Education Coordination Board. Leslie, we'll start with you.
Sure, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to thank the Texas Workforce Commission for inviting me out to talk about our internship. We are new in this experience, but we're very excited about this opportunity. And we learned a lot from the first cohort that we'll be able to work on improving and provide even better opportunities to interns in the future. For individuals that may be interested in wanting to explore manufacturing and all the different career paths that are in there, if you're in the local San Antonio area and you're working with a voc rehab counselor, you can express to them your interest in wanting to get connected with future cohorts, or you can reach out directly to toyotetsurecruitment.com and indicate that you would have an interest in an internship opportunity, and we'll reach out to you and get connected and learn more about you.
Thank you, Leslie. Any last words, Vanessa?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Building a talent strong Texas takes all of us together, working together, students, that includes you as well. And so let's continue to do that, united. In addition, we have this Texas Works internship opportunity, the Texas Internship Challenge site. We'll make sure that that information is in the chat so that you can access that information. You have the Work Study Student Mentorship Program, but also I'd encourage you to check out all the different internship programs that exist, all the things that you've heard about today. So we appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to more chances to connect.
Thank you. Geronimo, it's always good to see you again and to see the difference you're making in our community and in Texas. Any closing words?
Well, first of all, thank you to the Texas Workforce Commission for this opportunity to kind of share these learnings that we all have. I think for employers and for students who want to know more about Project Search, you can find us at seton.net/Project Search. We're happy to share what we've learned with other employers. And I think as a first generation college graduate, and someone who believes in paying it forward, removing barriers for individuals, I would just share, I think Vanessa, you'd mentioned it as well. Don't be afraid to speak up and ask for help or dream and speak up about what you're dreaming, because there are so many of us out here who want to help and support you in your journey. And I would just welcome you all to raise your voices for them.
Thank you, Drama. Danielle, you get the last word.
Wonderful. Well, I also, of course, would like to thank the Texas Workforce Commission for having me, and I really value the partnership that we've continued to build over the years. You all have given us really great talent that we brought into our organization, and they're thriving. So thank you for that. And again, I appreciate the collaboration. If there's one anecdote or note I'd like to leave everyone with, it's that these types of programs are not only impacting the individuals that we are bringing into our workforce, they're also making a difference for the people who are already working here. I was just on a call with managers earlier today doing a training, and several of the managers said to me after the training, I feel like this makes me a better people leader because I'm thinking more intentionally about how I'm working with people and the different ways that people show up in our workforce. And just having that knowledge better prepares me to be a good leader leader. And so I just want to thank all of the people on the call who are taking a chance at, trying these internships out and who are applying, because you also are making a difference on the future of work. And for anyone who's interested in an opportunity at Dell, please check out jobs.dell.com/neurodiversity, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and we'll point you in the right direction. So thanks.
Thank you, Danielle. Finally, on behalf of the Texas Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities, I'd like to thank our friends and partners at the Texas Workforce Commission for allowing me to be a part of this great event. And to the students in our audience, keep reaching forward. Thank you.
I want to say, wow, what a dynamic panel. I mean, people leader, the discussions. We're going to have a QR code with the information that they shared and their contact information. Look for that shortly. That will be emailed to you. And I want to thank Danielle. I want to thank Leslie. I want to thank Geronimo and Vanessa for their valuable information. I want to give them a virtual hand applause. Sorry, I just like doing that. But thank you so much for our employers who make a difference, and such a huge difference. And thank you employers in our state to make a difference in this space. Thank you, Mari, for the introduction. Thank you, Ron, for the moderating this amazing panel and group. Let's give them another virtual round of applause. Thank you. Now I want to introduce a very special person. We're going to continue with our program and move this along, but I want to introduce you to Evelyn Cano, who will introduce our speaker for our next session. Evelyn is a co-founder and president of the Disability Chamber of Commerce, Rio Grande Valley. In 2020, Ms. Cano began her service as a board member with the Disability Rights of Texas. She is still serving a term with the Disability Rights of Texas. Ms. Cano is also currently serving a third term on the Texas Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities, a position appointed by our very own Texas Governor Abbott. And right now, we'll just move this forward. And Evelyn, let's take it away.
Thank you so much for that opportunity and kind introduction, Ms. Medrano. Thank you, Commissioners TWC, for this opportunity to be here today. We know there are many individuals with disabilities who want to pursue continuing education opportunities post-high school. So I have the great honor today to introduce some wonderful resource panelists that are up next who can help us navigate how to access services at colleges and universities. So if I'm not mistaken, first up, we have Ms. Stone. Ms. Jessica Stone is the director of the Office of Disability Access at the University of North Texas and is a doctoral student in the higher education program. She's also a licensed professional counselor and a certified rehabilitation counselor. Her primary areas of interest for research involve barriers students with disabilities experience when accessing student programming on campuses and how higher education institutions can remove these barriers through inclusive and accessible practices and policies. Ms. Stone, we're very happy to have you. I will now turn it over to you, and we have two other great panelists we'll hear from very soon, but I believe we're starting with you.
Thank you. We are actually all going to present at the same time. Do you want to go ahead and introduce them, or do you?
Sure, I would love to continue introducing the other two amazing panelists. Let's do it. So also with us today, we have Ms. Brenda Aviles. She works in disability services as a district access advisor at Collin College. She has 22 years of experience in higher education and has held faculty and professional roles. As a disabled person with multiple identities and a parent to a disabled college student, Brenda is committed to advocating for equal access to break academic and societal barriers. She's completing her doctoral degree at University of North Texas, and most of her research pertains to college students with disabilities and accessibility cultures to identify how the socio-political constructions within support services on campus shape their multi-layered identities and lives. So we're grateful to have you as well. And before we finish here, I'm going to continue with Ms. Cantu, who is also Ms. Leslie Cantu. She's the Assistant Vice President of Administration at Toyota Tzu Operation in San Antonio, Texas. In her role, she has a lot of responsibilities there. She is basically has oversight over HR, environmental, health, safety, security, and accounting departments. She has over 15 years of combined experience with tier 1 automotive manufacturing suppliers in both the production and administration arenas. Very passionate about supporting workforce development initiatives. And she's currently the president for the Texas FAME Board and the chair for Workforce Solutions in Alamo for the Alamo Board of Directors. So Ms. Cantu and all the other amazing panelists, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because we have a presentation that'll go along with what we are here to say. So just
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all again for having us here today. We really appreciate Texas Workforce Commission for inviting us. We are here to talk about resources and different supports that colleges and universities provide in supporting students with disabilities and preparing for their internships and employment post-graduation. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves so you know a little bit more about us. As they said, my name is Jessica Stone. I currently have the honor of serving as the director of the Office of Disability Access at the University of North Texas. One of the reasons I was really excited to present here today was because vocational rehabilitation has been such a huge part of my journey, both professionally and personally, as I am a person who is blind myself. I'll now turn it over to Brenda.
Hello, so I am Brenda Avilés, and I am a district access advisor at Collin College, which is located in North Texas. And here I work with students with disabilities to help them have the support and accommodation they need. Same as with Jessica, I have highly benefited from vocational rehab program, not only as a student, but also as a person seeking careers. And also my son is currently receiving sponsorship from Texas Workforce Commission. So I'm very honored to be here and give back to them. So next.
Hi, everyone. I am Marquita Greer. I am the Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist with Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation Services Division. I am located in Region 2. So I am one of 6 COAs throughout the region, and my job primarily is to improve awareness of the Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program. The great thing about my job is that I am in the community. I think I heard it best last week when I was referred to as the connector in chief. I get to bring awareness to our program as well as help individuals get connected to our services. So glad to be here. Thank you.
So before we talk specifically about internships and the partnerships that we have at colleges and universities, we want to just make sure that all of our audience is aware that whether you go to a public or private institution, you do have the right to access disability accommodations to help make sure that you have equal access to your educational and campus environment. So there are several different laws that talk about this, such as the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Fair Housing Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. But again, these apply to both public and private institutions, albeit a little bit differently. We always encourage students with disabilities to apply for accommodations at their college or university. It really just depends on what their barriers are and what kind of supports they need. But there are accommodations both in the academic setting, but also in the housing setting and with dietary accommodations. Every college or university has a slightly different process for accessing accommodations. And also every institution might have different other support services. So for example, the University of North Texas has a separate program called UNT Elevar, which is a post-secondary program for students with intellectual disabilities. So every institution works a little bit differently, but we all provide accommodations for equal access. If you are looking at what institution to go to now or go to in the future, we always encourage our students to look at that individual institution's programs and services so that you can make an informed decision before attending. One thing that we always like to talk about when we talk about disability services in a post-secondary setting, so like a college or institution, is accommodations are not retroactive. So what that means is if you go in and you apply for accommodations today, they don't apply to anything from the first part of the semester. So we always encourage you to apply for accommodations as soon as you are able to. So that's disability services offices. But at most colleges and institutions, they also have a career services department. This could be called the Career Center, Career Services, Career Development. It has a different name at most institutions. But these offices, these departments are an important part in many students' lives in obtaining and maintaining employment. So if you aren't connected with your institution's career services office, we really encourage you to do so. Today is all about internships. And so a big part of a lot of career services offices is the internship piece. And they often have really great resources and connections to employers, like we just heard about. A lot of career centers are connected with these employers, so they can, especially if you are a person with a disability, they can connect you to some of the employers like we just heard from. And then we talked about accommodations when you go to college or when you go to a university. You have academic accommodations or housing accommodations. But a lot of times we find that some college students also forget that they can apply for accommodations at that internship or when they seek employment as well. So there's many different kinds of internships. And Brenda will talk a little bit about how the type of internship determines who the individual contacts to request accommodations. There are so many great resources for supporting students with disabilities and obtaining employment in internships. And so one thing that we have really found is partnering with vocational rehab. So a student going through vocational rehabilitation services, also working with all of the other resources they have available, such as an institution's career center, really is a strong partnership in supporting that student having a successful employment outcome. Now I'm going to turn it over to Brenda to talk about more specifics.
Thank you, Jessica. So one thing that is very important is to know that there is a difference between an internship that is required versus voluntary at an college institution. So whenever an internship will be required, they will categorize it as for credit. And in this case, the college or the post-secondary institution is responsible for providing those accommodations that are related to both the academic element and also employment. For example, a deaf student that needs an interpreter, so we will provide an interpreter on site. However, if the internship is non-credit, meaning that it's voluntary and the student is simply seeking an internship for career experience, then in that case, it's the employer who is responsible for providing the accommodation. On the other hand, you may also see that there is always some sort of an overlap in coverage because classroom and academic accommodation may be similar or maybe in some cases different from employment accommodation. So this requires that there is a very individualized analysis or review that is case by case and side by side, where we, the institution and the employment side collaborate. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we identify protocols to follow, and we also need to look for essential elements of either the internship, the program, or even the task that will be involved in this type of experience. So with that being said, this is very important and crucial because that will make us, or the student and the employment side, to identify what type of accommodation will be needed and how that will be implemented. Now, when it comes to community college, it can be a little bit different because we have workforce program in addition to associate or degree programs. And in some of those workforce programs, they will have the option of using co-op internship or a capstone project. But you also have some programs that they're locked in with the option that they want their student to experience as a work learning experience. Now, the other thing that is important to know and try to identify is that some programs also have requirement for internship or work-based program because of their accreditation requirement. And that will identify what the student will have to do, you know, if it's a couple of weeks or if it's only a couple of months or something else. And also the type of degree will determine that type of requirement. So if it's a certificate versus an associate degree, it may or may not include a required internship. The other thing is that it's important that you have that open communication and identify those things before you decide what type of program you want. So next, Makita is going to cover how you can get support from TWC.
Starts with the Texas workforce programs and all of the wonderful ways that they support. We did want to also make sure that in addition to all of the wonderful Texas workforce programs and other programs through like a career center, there are also departmental internship programs. So some departments, for example, rehabilitation counseling programs, they have strong collaborations with certain employers. So they can often help you bridge and get easier paths to internships through departmental internship programs. So again, we always encourage partnership with Voc Rehab, the Career Center, and also your specific department where you're seeking your degree. And now we'll turn it over to Marquita.
Thank you. You guys just heard from Jessica and Brenda regarding assessing those services there at the community college. So I want to talk to you all briefly about vocational rehabilitation services. And as Jessica stated, it's a very strong partnership. We support those eligible individuals with disabilities seeking employment. So whether it's preparing for employment, getting a job, keeping a job, or advancing in employment, VR may be the program for you. Our counselors work with customers to help individualize a plan to help them reach their employment goal. Our business relations coordinators, we work with the business community. We work with those employers to help recruit, retain, and accommodate their employees. Now, how awesome is that? It's a win-win partnership. We build those relationships. By building those relationships, it helps us to help you determine the training and the skills needed so that you can be a qualified applicant and to better educate our customers about labor market needs, because both are equally important, and it's our job to assist in the linkage. So again, it's that connection, it's connecting and collaborating and the partnership. Next, I want to talk about some of the services that we provide students, job seekers, and employers. Some of the services that we provide job seekers is counseling and guidance, assistive technology. We also assist with individualized and support services that may be needed so that you can be successful with employment. With our employers, we assist with disability awareness training, worksite analysis, and assisting with the services so that you can not only get qualified candidates, but also help you retain the current staff that you have. So again, with vocational rehabilitation services, it's about collaborating and connecting and building that partnership. Here we have our contact information and how you can reach Jessica, Brenda, or myself. Our emails are there. We also have some resources that we've listed and resources for students with disabilities seeking those internship opportunities. And last but not least, we've developed a QR code also. So if you all will take your phone out and scan that QR code, it will lead you to a Padlet, which will have our information on there. So it's our contact information, it's brochures and additional information regarding how to request accommodations and access those services there at the community college. Also information about vocational rehabilitation services. We have our brochures that are listed, how to reach your business relations coordinator, how to reach your community outreach and awareness specialist. Also, we have our Start My VR. The cool thing about Start My VR is that you can access that and put in additional, basic information, and someone from our statewide contact center will contact you to help you get connected to our vocational rehabilitation services. We also have our Internship Unite Challenge information there, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint from today. So thank you guys for taking the time out to listen to us. Again, if you all have any questions, I am in Region 2. There is a COA, a Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist in all 6 regions. And we want to make sure you all get connected to our services. And I want to close again by saying that it's a partnership. It's a partnership and it's about collaboration. And with Texas Workforce, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you all get connected to those internship opportunities and to the wonderful services that we provide. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists today. I want to make a formal apology to Ms. Greer for reading the incorrect bio a little bit earlier. It's very apparent you have a lot of wonderful experience with people with disabilities and VRS. So thank you so much for that. Ms. Medrano, back to you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Evelyn, for introducing our awesome speakers. Thank you, Jessica, Brenda, and Marquita for that wonderful information and resources, and for all you do and continue to do for our students every day. Now we're going to get to the highlight of our program. Let me bring up Miley Martinez, who's a student at Lone Star College. She's going to introduce our dynamic speaker for this afternoon. Thank you, Miley.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I also wanted to say that internships in general I've definitely appreciated the hands-on experience that I've received. And yeah, I'm going to introduce a keynote speaker named Katarina Rivera. She is a dynamic public speaker. She is a day consultant and a content creator. She works with companies to improve disability awareness, inclusion, and accessibility. She is passionate about sharing her unique story in hopes of building a more inclusive world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I'm thrilled to be here today with all of you. Let me pull up my PowerPoint, one moment. Okay, a technical issue. I'm on the call as 2 devices. Could someone on the tech team look for the second version of me and enable screen sharing for that individual? Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, now we'll really get started. So hi everyone, I'm Katarina or Katarina. The keynote today is all about launching a successful career with your disability, not despite your disability.
I'm a light-skinned Latina woman with dark brown hair pulled back in a bun today. I'm wearing glasses with a dark brown frame. I have on a black shirt with white piping around the edges, and behind me is a blurred living room. I'm very expressive. I talk with my hands. I'm also wearing my hoop earrings, which I love. And I always give a visual description because I want to be as inclusive as possible for everyone. My pronouns are she, her, ella. And I want to acknowledge the land that my presentation was created on, which was originally and belongs to the Nacotchtank or Anacostan people. My perspective is my own. I don't represent all disabled people, all Latina people, all women. That would be impossible to do. Did you know that there are over 1 billion people worldwide who are disabled? One of them is me. Oh, my disability journey started with this little girl. I was born to a Puerto Rican father who grew up in the South Bronx, and he was born in the United States. My mother came from Cuba when she was 8 years old. And this is a picture of me with my mom as a toddler, and she's holding my younger brother. When I was born, I had a lot of joy in my household. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, my parents noticed that I wasn't responding to them all the time, and they weren't sure what was going on, but they did get my hearing checked. And that's when they found out that I had a hearing disability. Since that time, I've worn hearing aids. I've received lots of speech therapy, and I had an IEP all throughout school. IEP is the Individualized Education Plan, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. So, what did that mean for me? When I was young, being hard of hearing didn't seem like a big deal. I was able to communicate, and I think that was just very emblematic of the times to have everyone participating in the oral world, even though I was hard of hearing. Now, I wish that I did get some exposure to ASL, that I did get more connection to the deaf culture, but that is something I am able to explore as an adult. I did adjust very well in the school system. I did a lot of lip reading. I was able to get support from some of the offices in college and high school. But I didn't know that my life was actually going to change again. At 17 years old, this is a photo of my family just when I was about to graduate from high school. I went to karate camp that summer. Karate camp was in the woods, so it was dark at night. All of my friends wanted to play a prank on one of the instructors. We were lining up to run outside, down the steps, around the hill, and we were going to tap on his window. And I watched it one by one. All of my friends bounded outside, ran around the corner, ran down the hill. I was the last one. When I opened that door and stepped outside, I stopped. I looked around, everything was so dark and I couldn't see. I couldn't see at all. And I noticed immediately in a flash how different my experience was than everyone else's. Why was it so easy for them? That was my first experience with night blindness. And that led to me getting diagnosed with Usher syndrome. Usher syndrome is actually the most common combined genetic cause of deafness and blindness. So I just had never heard of it. It was never something that was shared as a possibility with my family when we were found out to be hard of hearing. We didn't have any vision issues at that time. So at 17 years old, right before I was headed off to college, full scholarship, it felt like I was getting another disability, and one that was more unknowns, because they couldn't tell me what my progression was going to be like. or what my life was going to be like. I received very little resources. So that started with denial. That was my first stage of my journey. I was upset. I was angry. Anytime I shared about it, I would say this phrase, I'm going blind. And I would cry because it was so emotional and I didn't have a lot of support. In college, I would do anything for people not to know what was going on with me. So at parties, I would, if I bumped into something, if I didn't see something, I would act like I was clumsy. And I did not share with a lot of people what was going on with me in school. I shifted into my next stage, which was acceptance after I graduated college and moved to New York City. I moved to New York City because there are very little places where I could exist independently as a blind woman who was going to have to stop driving. But the great thing too about New York City is that there are a lot of other blind people. So I was able to find community and meet adults who were further along in their career for the first time. And that was very helpful. So I highly suggest that if you don't know people that have your disability or other disabilities, who are adults who are in their middle or late adulthood, it's so beneficial. I was actually a teacher for my first job, and I taught in the South Bronx. I learned a lot being a teacher. It was also very hard. It's not easy. And I also received services from Helen Keller National. This was the first time that I learned about all the accessibility features of products that existed already in the world, like Apple products, we have screen readers integrated into both Apple Android, but I just didn't know about this whole world. I also had somebody come to my home and talk to me about safety with cooking, how I could tell, for example, with making tea if water was hot, different things that I could think about for the future for labeling clothes. So this was very informative. I also got new hearing aids. And before, the old me wanted to hide my disability. So I wanted really, really small hearing aids. But at this point, I felt more confident getting larger hearing aids with more power and not really caring about people seeing that. And the next phase for me was self-advocacy. And what was the shift here? Well, I got a new job after many years in teaching, and then I switched to the nonprofit sector in public health. And this new job was in Midtown, which is very busy. In wintertime, it was dark early, and I was very stressed walking from my job to the train and commuting home. I didn't have any assistive device or mobility aid at that time. So I decided I was going to get training on how to use a white cane because I didn't want to deal with the stress anymore. When I got training, my instructor told me to take the cane in my hand, cross the street when the walk sign came on. As soon as the walk sign went on, I went straight across the street and I didn't look left or right, even though I do have vision. My vision is in a small box where I only see what's directly in front of me, but I went right across the street without turning my head at all. And he came and met me on the other side and said, Katarina, why didn't you use the vision that you have? You have to use your vision in order to stay safer. You want to use everything that you got. So why didn't I want to turn my head left and right? Well, for me, it was about something called internalized ableism. Ableism is the idea that non-disabled people are more valuable or worthy than disabled people. It leads to discrimination, prejudice, and bias. We see it everywhere. And magazines, all the advertisements, we very rarely see disabled people shown as beautiful, as aspirational. And movies and TVs, we see stories where disabled people are there for inspiration or tragedy. So often. I exist in this world along with everyone else, so I'm fed those narratives as well. So I felt that it was better for me to act more blind than I was, rather than doing what works for me, because I was afraid of what people were going to say, what questions they were going to have. when they observed me using the cane in a way they would not expect. That was something I had to work on, but over time I did it. I started using my cane. I started taking out my cell phone when I was using my cane if I needed to. And I started not to care about the perspective of non-disabled people around me, but about my life and what I needed. And that was powerful. I started asking for whatever I needed in restaurants, in workout classes, and everything I was doing, and my voice got really strong. I finally realized it's okay to be disabled. There's nothing wrong with me. There is something wrong with our world. I entered my last stage. The stage I'm in now is public advocacy. My assignment became clear to create a more inclusive world. Now that my voice was strong, I'm proud of who I am, including my disability. And that took years. I wanted to help others. I started my Instagram account, Blindish Latina, sharing my story, and realized that I was really reaching people. Then I decided to turn that into a business and become a public speaker. I work with many businesses and companies talking about disability awareness, inclusion, even what managers can do to be inclusive and how easy it can be. So now that you know about my journey, let's talk about your journey. Who's disabled in today's workplaces? It's more people than you think. At least 1 in 4 adults are disabled in the United States, and this is a self-report. So you need to remember that some people don't consider themselves disabled, even though they have something that qualifies as a disability. And some people don't know about their disability, and some people have shamed and they don't want to report. So the actual number is probably higher. We need to remember that disabled people are everywhere and make up a large number of populations worldwide in the United States and in the workplaces. Not all disabilities are apparent or visible. Many disabilities are dynamic and not as well understood, like chronic illness. We have mental health conditions. We have learning disabilities. There are so many. Not all disabilities are diagnosed or known. Some people can't access a diagnosis because of barriers in access to healthcare or access to a specialist with a long waiting list. Some people don't find out about their disability until adulthood because nobody thought of them or they didn't meet what is typically thought of as the characteristics for that disability. I've known this to happen with autism, with ADHD, and there are many other stories. So know that you're not alone as far as being disabled in the workplace. This is a big question that many people ask. Well, should you disclose your disability? The answer is personal. Right now, only 21% of disabled employees disclose to HR. The number is a bit higher when you talk about who's disclosing to their managers, but it's very low here in terms of disclosure to HR. But 30% of college-educated employees aged 21 to 65 are disabled. We are in the workforce. So what I recommend is that you figure out what's right for you. If you have an apparent disability, you use a mobility aid, it's great to think of yourself as your own public relations professional. Put the ideas that you want the interviewer to have in their head directly. Focus on the job description. Share exactly how you performed the job. If I show up to a job interview with my white cane, there's going to be a lot of assumptions that could arise about blindness. And the most basic question, can blind people use a computer? Yes, we can, but I can talk about, oh, I manage my email using this system, or I have some central vision, so I actually use the computer just like you. That's exactly the case for me. So tell them how you would perform the functions of the role. And don't leave room for question marks. If you don't want to disclose in the interview process, you don't have to. You're not required to. It's not lying. Some people feel that they are lying if they don't share about their disability. Everyone has personal information about their lives, their background, that they do not share with everyone they meet. It is part of being a human. Not everyone is entitled to your stories. So show up with confidence in the interview process. You are worthy. You are talented. You have a unique perspective to contribute. But what can you expect in the workplace? What's disability inclusion? Let's first talk about what disability inclusion is not. Reasonable accommodations or adjustments that are required by law. These are the minimum standard. This is fulfilling the requirements of the ADA. The problem that sometimes happens is when we talk about the word reasonable. That's where sometimes people don't get what they need because it's determined not to be reasonable for the employer. There are many resources available to help you with this. I highly recommend the Job Accommodations Network. They have even a directory where you can look up a disability and seek common accommodation for that disability. You can also call them, and they have a lot of expertise. My accommodation story in my most recent workplace before I became a full-time entrepreneur was that I could not hear on the office phone at all. It took many months to actually figure out the solution. And so that is challenging, waiting a long time for a solution to happen. Also, sometimes with accommodations, employers expect you to know the solution. Like, ask for what you need. Well, actually, you're supposed to say that you have a need and then work together with your employer to figure out the solution. So it's very important that if you're going to want to request accommodations, become knowledgeable about the process. In this case, I needed to work with IT. We actually bought a pair of headphones that plugged into my computer, and I used a web application to access the phone. It was very cool. It worked out well. And I did not know that that's what I needed. So I'm glad that I had help. Now let's shift a little bit to inclusion. While I had that accommodation, it didn't mean that every day I showed up and the workplace was inclusive for me. I struggled a lot with large meetings and with hearing people. I had a holiday party one year that I was very excited about. I got to the party, it was dark, it was noisy, very, very loud. So I was now no longer feeling included. It's supposed to bring everyone closer together, but I was feeling left out. I could not even see the food at the buffet table. And luckily I had a close friend who was a coworker of mine, and I asked him to make me my plate. And I wonder, what did my coworkers think of that? Some people didn't even know that I was blind because the office was so well lit and I memorized the whole office. So they didn't know about my blindness. So when we talk about what is inclusion and how can we get there, we want to see an inclusive environment where everything that we need is already built in, where someone doesn't have to ask for what they need. That requires a cultural shift and commitment. It requires employers integrating it to all spaces, functions, all settings, and really thinking about equity in hiring and promotion. Sometimes disabled people don't want to disclose because they think they won't be seen as leaders. We are powerful leaders, and I love smashing stigmas around this. There is no need to hold us back from achieving in the workplace, but this is something that we are still working on. So I hope that all employers recognize that disabled people are everywhere and really commit to workplace inclusion. And they also design with accessibility in mind always. It doesn't work when you want to build in accessibility later. It's not as accessible, it's more expensive, it takes more time. So accessibility should be a non-negotiable. So if you're in the workplace and you want some tips for self-advocacy, or you're getting ready for the workplace, I highly recommend you work on your own disability journey. It's much easier to advocate from a place of confidence. Ask for what you need without feeling like you have to disclose or prove it. I discovered this last year and I love it. I have so many Zoom meetings where I have to ask for closed captions because people don't know about the settings and turning it on, the automatic caption. So instead of saying, oh, I'm hard of hearing and I need captions, that's kind of like proving that I need it. I now say, I benefit from captions. That's what I say. I benefit from captions. Can you please have them on for our meeting? So this is a great thing you can even do with a manager or someone you work with, even a coworker. Oh, I benefit from meeting agendas. Can we please make sure we always have that? You don't have to say why. Another advocacy thing that I want everyone to know is that speaking up doesn't have to be a thing that you're doing in a group meeting in a very high stakes environment where it might be so anxiety producing. You can talk to one person that you already have built trust with, and you can ask them to take a specific action. This is really helpful because sometimes people know that you need something or that there are situations that are inaccessible for you, but for some reason, they don't feel like it's their responsibility to do something unless you ask them. So you can say, oh, I noticed a lot of meetings coming out that are on this inaccessible platform. Can you talk to the organizers when you see that and ask them to change the platform? Because it's a lot of work for me. So this is something you could do. Also, I always highly recommend finding community, and I love cross-disability community. It's much more powerful, and we share so much that we don't expect to share across disability. So find community. You don't have to do this alone. In the workplace, you might have an employee resource group. You might have someone who is openly disabled that you can find out about and talk to. Don't feel like you are alone. So let's all create a world where disabled people are seen as a natural part of the diversity of humankind, where everyone can use mobility aids without fear, where she will always know it's okay to be disabled. Thank you again to the Texas Workforce Commission and everyone involved in today's event for having me as your keynote speaker. It's a true honor, and I'm thrilled to see all the support that we have for employment of disabled people. If there's any extra time, please let me know. I'm happy to respond to anything in the chat, but this has been a wonderful day. Thank you.
Again, wow, 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 wow. You've heard from amazing speakers this afternoon. What an amazing program. Let me thank our student, Millie Martinez, for introducing our keynote speaker. And thank you for our amazing, to our amazing keynote speaker, Catarina Rivera. You are truly an inspiring person. Thank you for your story. I want to encourage the students to take advantage of what you heard today. I want to thank our employers for your involvement. I want to thank everyone who's participating in this program. Texas Interns Unite is an amazing resource for building your career, relationships, and powerful ways to build your presence. Remember, stay connected by joining Texas Interns Unite LinkedIn page. Visit our webpage at www.twc.texas.gov under the Texas Internship Challenge for more information and event details this year. I also want to make a special shout out and thank you to Melinda Polinsky in our VR department. She's been amazing. Big thanks to her for helping me pull this conference together so I can deliver an amazing program for you today. We had over 400 people register today, and I'm thrilled to announce that is a huge win for our state of Texas.
And I want to remind you that we will be sending some information for our contact or a directory. So all the dynamic speakers you heard today, it will all be included in that packet. I thank you. Have a good day, and we will see you soon.